What's going on, everybody? This is your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT, and we are here for another Doc Chat. I got Dr. Drayton, Dr. Elwin, and Dr. McClendon, and we like to say good morning to Dr. McClendon all the way from Australia. We appreciate you for being on, but we are a friendly broadcast. We like to make sure we are respectful. So want to say thank you for everybody tuning in. Let me know if you're in a doctorate program. Let me know that you're tuning in. Let us know that you're checking out the doc chat right now. So without further ado, we're going to introduce you to these great doctors. They're going to let you know their name and where they got their doctorate, where they did their research, a little bit about themselves. So we're going to start with Dr. Pauline Elwin. Welcome to the doc chat. We appreciate
you. Hello. Thank you for having me on this platform. A little bit under the weather, but I'm happy I'm here. So I'm Dr. Pauline Elwin. I am originally from the Commonwealth of Dominica in the Caribbean. It's in the Eastern Caribbean, actually. And I got my doctorate in organizational leadership, business and consulting from Northwest University. And currently I'm a business consultant, program manager, and researcher. So, yes, I graduated in May 2022, and thank you. I'm happy to be here and share some tips in becoming a doctor yourself.
We appreciate that. We're going to say hello to Dr. Drayton. We appreciate you being on the doc chat. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Hari Drayton. I am a graduate from the California University of Pennsylvania, where I got my doctorate in criminal justice. I did my research in best practices in reducing prison violence. I am a retired correction captain from Rikers Island. I later went back to work for Rikers Island at the Correction Academy, and I also worked for the Criminal Defense Practice of the Legal Aid Society. It is an honor and a privilege to be here.
Absolutely awesome. And my frat brother, Kappa Alpha Psi, Dr. Wesley Payne McClendon, all the way from Australia this morning. I'm telling you, Doc Chat's going international out here, folks, and we appreciate them for tuning in. Let us know a little bit about yourself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Turner. I've been in Australia for 17 years. I came here via Saudi Arabia, working in the desert at a company called Saudi Aramco, doing a joint venture. At the time, I was partner and practice leader at Mercer HR Consulting in London. So my doctoral work is in human resource management and industrial labor relations from Penn State. However, I had a doctoral fellowship, which allowed me to take 8 classes a semester. And so I actually was in the Smeal College of Business in Management and Organization, in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences in Human Resource Management, Industrial Relations, and in the College of Education in Workforce Education and Development. So I was able to put all that together over the course of 3 years, get in and out, and here I am.
It's absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. So once again, welcome to the Doc Chat. If you're tuning in with us, let us know that you're here. Let us know the doctorate programs you're in, the doctorate programs you completed, and the great work you're doing now. Say hello to these great doctors. Now we're going to start with Dr. Elwin. What made you go get a doctorate degree? And tell us even a little bit about where you're from, as you getting your doctorate degree is historic for your people.
Yes. I think, as a young girl, growing up in Dominica, the Commonwealth of Dominica in the Caribbean, I was very intrigued by a past leader that we had, Prime Minister, knighted by the Queen, Dame Dr. Mary Eugenia Charles, and her leadership style. and just how she, showed up, how she presented herself. And she was successful in, as a leader, leading 3 terms as a prime minister of the Dominica. She was the first woman prime minister in the Caribbean, and 3rd in the world, actually. So we called her the Iron Lady, and that name really suited her. So as I grew older, I was very, I always wanted to, I was very interested and passionate about, leadership styles. And I worked for different city governments, state governments, and I saw like how employees were affected by different leadership styles. And, I was intrigued to really find out more about leadership, what leadership works, what doesn't. So I decided to go get my doctorate degree in 2019. I applied, started in the cusp of COVID-19, actually. So I'm the COVID cohort, if you want to call me that. And also just thinking about COVID and that major change, I wanted to tie my dissertation in with that as well. So my dissertation was around exploring the leadership, transformational leadership, and the effects of employee satisfaction since the COVID-19 pandemic in a government organization. So and just for when I entered Northwest University, obviously that I already had a topic, and I'm just sharing a tip. If you realize, I already had a topic in my head, and just wanted to drive through with it, and strategically, that's pretty much what I did. So
okay. All right. And hopefully everybody could hear well. Said there might be a little bit of an echo, but I think we should be okay. So let's go ahead and start with the good Dr. Drayton. Go to him. Why go get a doctorate degree? And you have such a unique doctorate degree. Kind of give us some perspective on, especially with your esteemed career. Why even go back, Dr. Drayton? Because you didn't have to. You could have sailed off into the sunset there. And I think we got you on mute. So let's get you up there and let's go ahead and roll. Let's see. Oh, I think we got you.
Yes.
There you go. Yep.
So after retirement, I became a professor at Monroe College in the Bronx, New York. And what I found is that there was a need. I had my master's and I was doing well, but there was a need for a doctorate degree. I just didn't know if I had the bandwidth to go forward and to do that. I wasn't 30, I wasn't 40. I was up in age, and I was working 2 jobs. I was working for the Monroe College, and I was working for the corrections department. And to put the doctorate degree and those studies on would have been a lot, but I decided to do it. And when I decided to do criminal justice, it was, do I do an EDD or do I do a DCJ? And I wanted to play safe because criminal justice has been my life. My bachelor's is in human services and criminal justice. My master's is in law, and my doctorate obviously is in criminal justice. So I knew that it would be something that would keep my interest when I was doing my studies. I had the benefit to be back in the Department of Corrections at the time. And one of the things that was on the rise was prison violence. And so I said, what better to do my research studies on, because I'm right here in the midst of it all. And that's what I did. And it became very, I played it very safe.
That was your lane. And
that was my lane.
I love it. Absolutely love it. We got people that's chiming in. Dr. Sanders, who's been on our doc chat before. We appreciate you checking in. We appreciate you checking in as well, Judah. And the wonderful Dr. Ringer, we appreciate you checking in as well. If you're checking out the doc chat, let us know. Check in with us. Holla at these great doctors here. Now we go to my friend, Dr. Wesley Payne McClendon. As we say once again, good morning. It's still blowing my mind that it's it's morning where you are, but I love it. So as our good Dr. Drayton there, you had an established career too. What made you go for that doctorate degree?
Well, I'll take a step back. When I was 15 years old, I wanted to get a PhD. And the reason being is because at the time, I think we all look for people that we want to be like. And I looked at African Americans around me, and I was either going to be in sports, entertainment, or I was going to be doing something that allowed me to have a bigger voice than my community would have typically allowed. And so at the time, my idol was, even though he had passed away, Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Wow.
And so I figured that in order for me to get the biggest voice required me to get a doctorate. And so, having worked in Washington, D.C., I decided to get a PhD. I'd done a master's in Virginia. And so what my focus was going to be, having worked in finance in Southern California, I wanted to see why organizations and the people within them didn't work well together. So you had disgruntled employees, you had people that didn't understand what the business was trying to do, and how do I do what the business needs to do and then be rewarded for performance. All these types of things were kind of grew out of bad experiences or people around me having bad experiences at work. So I went to Penn State, but kind of by a lark. One of our frat brothers, who he likes to take credit for, saying, "Well, you should go to Penn State." What had happened is I was looking at Cornell and had gone to Ithaca. Literally, was looking at a house and thought, let me see what type of money these people are offering. So for me, it came down to a fellowship where I think at the time that Cornell was offering about $14,000. And Penn State covered the entire tuition and gave me a stipend. So it literally was a matter of dollars and cents, or as I like to say, dollars and common sense. And so I actually went to speak to the professor in charge. And bizarrely, he had my first book on his table in his office. He thought I was too arrogant. Being a Kappa, you probably can't see how that's possible, but he thought I was too arrogant and literally made me wait my time to get into the program. And he's a Q, Dr. Farmer, so I'll leave that aside.
Should have been 1911 love all the way around. Like,
exactly right. Yeah, they're a little later, 1913. But anyway, but it was a good time to reflect on what I really wanted to do, which to Dr. Elwin's point is really critical. Knowing what you want to do before you get there, I think is probably the biggest mistake that people make. They get there and they try to figure things out, because I knew early on, every course that I take, I knew what to extract from it. I knew how to use it in my, dissertation in the précis. And ultimately getting the dissertation completed. So I did a master's and a PhD in 3 years. Like I said, I took 8 courses a semester, but I was focused as you could possibly be. But it was because, as Dr. Elwin said, I knew what I wanted to do beforehand, which made getting to the end that much easier to get to.
That's epic. Absolutely epic. And we're going to go back to Dr. Elwin. We're going to skip around a little bit. So you're in the program, you're learning. What kind of shocked you, and how was it getting to that finish line of your doctorate degree where you look back at it like, I don't know how I did this, but I got it done?
Yes. Like I said, I'm a COVID cohort, started in COVID. Not only degree in the cusp of COVID, but I went through a lot of changes, adversities, and I felt like I needed to overcome. My program was 3.5 years, and I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to do this thing in 2 years. This is my timeline. And I said, okay, what's my strategy? And I just created, if you want to say the SMART goals, I looked at that, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And I just created this, I took a piece of paper and I just did a timeline. I'm like, this is how I'm going to do this thing. And in 2 years. And I'm in the middle of the program, and I started, and then the second session I said, you know what, I need to find a dissertation chair that aligns with my topic, that aligns with my methodology. And then second session I found him, and I was the co-lead of we called ourselves the Dissertation Warriors. It was myself and 2 other women. And we formed what was called an accountability group. We applied to, I don't know if you know, the International Leadership Association, and we started to do, our research, and we submitted proposals to get, extra credit as well. And instead of doing like 2 classes that were recommended per session, I was doing all like 5. And also writing those proposals, we got accepted into the Global Leadership Conference in Geneva, Switzerland, and that's in COVID, and we had to travel to present our research, and that's extra credits that we're getting. A professor was assigned to us, obviously, and we got the extra credit, and so we're meeting like twice a week, and we just grew that multi, faceted doctoral network it was mostly women. Mm-hmm. And, we had people we would do Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we would go through our classes. Also, if there's somebody who had a weakness in an area, and I had a strength, I would present. So we would share knowledge as well. Yeah. And like I said, I had the strategy to finish in 2 years, and I just continued taking, classes upon classes, and more than what I could handle because I was working full time. Yeah. But, it's just a sacrifice that, I had to, and I always go back to grit, having that charisma and indomitable spirit and, persistence as well, to finish in 2 years. And I did it. I accomplished it. I did my what is that? What is it called again?
You wrap up.
The comprehensive exams. Okay. I did that before I was supposed to, and was successful, and just continued okay, the session is starting. What do I have to do? What am I going to target? And woke up at 3:00 every morning, even on the weekends, to write and research. Wow. I knew what my dissertation was. I knew my methodology, and I did a mixed methods at that, both quant and qual. So I just think, if you're dedicated and you have a system, you'll be successful in completing that degree before your time. And yeah, that's where I was.
I'm still trying to figure out what sleep was like doing all that. That's absolutely incredible.
I was sleep deprived. To see that, I was sleep deprived.
I feel it. We want to say hi to good Dr. Sortiris. We appreciate you tuning in here on the Doc Chat. Everybody tuning in, we appreciate y'all so very much. Now, Dr. Drayton, how'd you get to that finish line, my brother? How did you do it? Because as we stated before, you didn't have to, but you pushed through and got that thing done.
A lot of prayer. A lot of prayer. You have to have a support. I had a wonderful cohort that we connected and we were there for each other. And I don't know what I would have done without them. In fact, one person from my cohort was here in Atlanta 3 or 4 days ago and we got together to have dinner. But you have to have a system. You have to have a system. What I found out, what I wish I had have known when I got there was to check my ego at the door.
Ooh, yeah.
Because if you go there with your ego, they are going to deflate you.
Yeah.
Right. I thought that I knew a good bit of information, but these people, they will let you know what you don't know. So I'd say check your ego, get a system, be devoted, be dedicated, and time management is very, very important.
Yeah.
I had to miss a lot of events. It's a lot of places I just couldn't go during that time. And like you said, there was times when I said, why am I doing this? Because I didn't need it. At least I thought. But I did it, and some great things happened afterwards, right? So I was invited to a lot of tables, doors open. The current position that I'm in now opened up for me. So start, finish, do it. Time management, check your ego.
Epic. Absolutely epic. Back to Dr. Payne McClendon. Just how? Even all the great work you did, you said you even worked with president at one point in time in your life. I mean, you had hit levels, but you felt like, maybe there's more. Maybe there's more.
Yeah, look, I think everyone wants to reach a level of professional potential, and it doesn't matter the activity or the discipline, whether that's, like I said, sports, entertainment, or academia. I think for me, again, I thought of it from a kind of a cost benefit perspective. So the longer I was in the program, the more money I wouldn't make. It wouldn't be in a position to make. So like I said, I came in thinking that, I started with the end in mind and said, okay, I need to get in and get out. But I also, while I was taking these 8 classes a semester, I was also teaching a class. So wow. I taught racism and sexism in women's studies, sociology, and African American studies at Penn State. I was a faculty advisor. So every Monday night I would go to the how fitting the the Martin Luther King hall or floor of a residence hall, and would play a movie like Education X or I think Higher Education or whatever. It was with Lawrence Fishburne. But I would play that type of movie, and then we would have a conversation. So you had all of these people, because I don't know if people know, Penn State is, at the time that I went, there were 6,500 graduate students. About 300 were people of color, and only 10 of us graduated with a PhD kind of in a year. So when I taught racism and sexism, I literally had 400, 500, 600 people trying to get into a class that was meant for 30 people. Because they crave that type of information. Yeah. So I was teaching, I was a faculty advisor, and then I was consulting in Washington, D.C. So I literally was in the library every night until 5 minutes to 1 when the bell rang, and I went home from there. But, to your point, Dr. Drayton and Dr. Elwin, it literally is about managing your time, having a plan. I bought I think it's about a 6x4 foot whiteboard, and it had literally everything on it. And for me, I need to see it. And at 6x4, you couldn't get around it. So every day I had things that I had to do, research components that I was focusing on. Just everything was laid out so that, you reduce the amount of error. And I teach quantitative statistics, so I know a lot about error. You want to reduce that error to get as much as you can in terms of the things that you can control, which leaves it to the things that you can't, which again, if you can minimize that, you're doing well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And let me try to see if I can get something pulled up here. Try to talk about a little of the work that you do. All right. So this is something you're big on. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's ironic you put that up. I just sent an email that focused on this. So one of the things that I do, and I'm sure Dr. Elwin would know more about this than I do, is I do a fair bit of work in the leadership space, both as a leadership coach and mentor, but also in terms of one of the classes I teach is on, in fact, I taught it last semester, is the art and practice of leadership. But this particular article talks about 7 habits, in which leaders, both in crisis and, to be honest, business as usual, need to be able to command these types of habits. And as you'll see coming up, the first one has everything to do with kind of how we, what I call it's deliberative decisiveness. So making sure that you have everyone around the table, able to make decisions that are both for and against. But the most important part is that every one of those positions and perspectives gets equal weighting. And so the deliberation component is probably the most important. So you want to have, people talk about yes men and women. Well, you want to have those at the table, but you want to have equally people who see it very differently and come with a very different set of experiences, life experiences, and perspectives that add to the flavor of those conversations. So what you end up with is probably something better than you would have come across had you been there by yourself or only people around the table that were in support of your ideas. Mm-hmm. I'll only go through the top 3, but the second one, as you can see here, is communicating objective truth. And in our current environment, that's really important because what you want to ensure is that you separate emotion and the skin in the game that you have, and put in place of that the idea of objective truth. And what that allows you to do, even if you need to convey bad news, the organization, your team, people around you will know that regardless of whether it's good news, bad news, or indifferent, it's going to be the truth. And I think ultimately that's where you want to be able to get to as a leader in this case, so that it's not flavored or colored by your own perspective or experience. The last one I'll talk about here is the problem-solving mindset. A lot of times, and again, Dr. Elwin and Dr. Drayton, and I'm sure yourself would be able to attest to this, it's how you show up that determines what happens at the end, right? So if I show up and I think this is a problem, I'm not going to be able to solve it, more than likely I won't be able to solve it. But if I come to the table thinking, again, starting with the end in mind, how do I get to the end? How do I solve this problem? You're more likely to be able to do that, and you'll engage people around you with that same mindset. So again, if you come to a pity party, you're probably not going to have a lot of fun. But if you kind of go to this problem with, again, the end in mind and come with that type of grit, as Dr. Elwin talked about, you're more likely to get through and be able to take people along the journey with you.
That's epic. Epic. Once again, we're here to Doc Chat. Dr. Pauline Elwin, Dr. Wesley Payne McClendon, and Dr. Harry Drayton. And you know what time it is. It's time to have a little fun as well. Kind of show the good work of getting to that finish line, which we always like to do on the Doc Chat. So let me get that good screen pulled up. Sorry, going a little slow here, but that's okay. All right. Dr. Elwin, the finish line. What did it mean to finally get hooded, get here? What was this day like for you?
And I'll go back to this. It was blood, sweat, and tears. But it was surreal, I should say, very surreal. And just walking to we had to walk into the hall, go to sit, and it was a whole ceremony. And our speaker talked about grit, and through COVID-19 and how the importance of grit. And we were called to lined up to get our degree, and oh my God, there was an out of body experience. I couldn't believe that this was happening.
Yeah.
And I was just in awe, I should say, very much in awe. But felt accomplished and felt that I'd overcome adversity. I'd overcome just the adversities with COVID-19, obviously, and
Yeah.
and I'd reached a milestone. I had a professor twice, and she was my mentor too, Dr. Cawthon. And she always said, celebrate small wins.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, and throughout the course of the program, I celebrated small wins. The achievements that I did, getting picked to go, internationally and present
Wow.
in Geneva, Switzerland, in Portsmouth, United Kingdom.
Wow.
And to me, that was a small win, but this right there, this was the big win. And I was just taking it all in, soaking it in, and just seeing the reactions of my professors, my dissertation chair, and my daughter, just had this big smile on her face, and she was proud of me, and my friends and family members, and yeah, so that was my experience walking across that stage and getting that degree.
Whew. I mean, it just gives you chills, because when you get there and get that hood put on, it takes your breath away. And definitely, they got the perfect shot for you. Not everybody gets that perfect shot, but it fell right. They got your emotions. They got the best shot of you. So that's epic right there. Absolutely epic. All right, now let's go with my good friend, Dr. Drayton. Let's see what we got here. You had the 3 bars on the arms. Tell us what it meant. What did it mean to get there? Just that feeling. I think you're on mute there, but I think we should be good. Oh, hold on. I think we got you on mute. Oh, yeah, I think you got you on mute, my guy. Hold on.
Yeah, like
There you go.
Elwin said, yeah, it ended a lot of studying, a lot of anxiety. It was surreal. I woke up days later saying I have to do an assignment. Right, I have to do an assignment. I just couldn't believe that it was over. So I had some friends in my cohort that I would call and say, "Listen, did you see what was posted? We have to hand in an assignment." They said, "Man, what are you talking about? It's over." I thought that after being hooded, that it was the end. But what I learned was it was actually the beginning, because now the real work was in store. I didn't realize that. The real work was out there to be done. And I went on to do, and I'm now doing the real work, and the responsibility that comes along with that. Oh, my cohort, look at those wonderful people. Yeah, I went on to do the real work that came with that. You just took me back. You really took me back here.
How many of y'all was in your cohort? Wow.
So it was originally 25, but only 15 graduated.
That's yeah. Wow. What does it mean seeing those folks? Now, was this at the beginning or was this towards the end?
That was at the beginning.
It was at the beginning.
Oh, they was happy then. Towards the end, their faces wouldn't look like that, but we didn't look like that at the end. So we didn't look like that. So yeah, but I am so happy I did it. I wouldn't want to do it again, but I would definitely encourage people to do it again. To do it. It is an experience, and just the people that I met along the way who now became lifelong friends, and it made it all worthwhile. So,
because tell us a little about this program, because a lot of people may not know about this program and this institution, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the California University of Pennsylvania is located in Pittsburgh, and they were the first in the country, probably the world, to offer a doctorate degree in criminal justice. And it was geared towards executives who were already in the criminal justice field. And an awesome program. I mean, I highly recommend the program, especially for criminal justice people who spent their life like me. I've been in criminal justice just half of my life, or probably 3/4 of my life. I started at the age of 21. So it's all I knew. And when I was searching for a program, I cheated on the EDD because I was in education, like I said, but criminal justice was home.
Yeah.
It was home. And when I found that program, I said, this is it.
Yeah. That's epic. That's epic. And Dr. McClendon, you get to the finish line. What did it mean? And especially what did it mean for your career?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't have any pictures. I'm one of the problems having lived all over the world is pictures are hard to keep track of. So promise you, I did graduate. In fact, the same person who made me pause to get into the program, Dr. Edgar Farmer, hooded me at my ceremony, and that was incredibly meaningful. For him to, tell me to check my ego at the door, and eventually make it into the program. I think for me, and I hope I don't speak too much out of school. My mom and my sister and my little nephew came to my graduation. And what my mom told me, and I'll give you the G-rated version. She said, "I know you got your PhD, but you still are a."
Yeah, we can fill in that blank.
Yeah, and I think that was, my mom doesn't give a lot of advice, but when she does give it, you need to listen.
Yeah,
and what she was saying is, you're still the same person that you were before. You just have, more credentials or more letters behind your name, post nominals. But, the degrees that you have, because I went on to, get another doctorate as well. But I think what you have to realize is that all of that stuff is good. But it's who you are inside that determines, your relationships, how successful you are. Because at the end of the day, you still have to perform. And even though, I use mixed methods in my dissertation as well. So like I said, I do quant. So I did, logistic regression and structural equations. So I can get through the problem. But it's how you get to the problem that will determine if you can get through it or not. And I think that's where this idea of, whether it started your career or, I think Dr. Drayton was, right in terms of it's just the beginning. But it's what you do with that. And because I didn't just do academia, so I did academia, executive, and management consulting. For me, I use it as an opportunity to, again, be an expert in the room. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that I am, but, I think especially as an African-American, for me, it allows me to validate what I know.
Yeah.
I worked with a gentleman years ago in Washington, D.C., and he had an EDD from Harvard, and I hadn't yet gotten my my PhD, but I was getting speaking gigs ahead of him. Now, you would have thought he's got a Harvard EDD, far exceeds my capability, but the reason why I was able to get speaking gigs was because I could deliver a message. And I think for him, as I said, the rapping is the rapping. It's what's inside that makes the difference.
That's it. That's it. We appreciate you. Lisa checking in. We just love it. Love it when folks check in with us. And I'm telling y'all doctors, y'all are aspiring. You're going to get there, Dr. Barrett. I'm telling you, write that down somewhere. Dr. Barrett, write it down somewhere. I'm telling you, get ready for that because you will be hooded. In Jesus' name, you're going to be hooded. So we appreciate everybody checking in one more time. We're going to go round robin because I got one question I want to ask. Start with Dr. Pauline. Being who you are, where you came from, what does it mean now that you're done? And as Dr. Drayton said, you ain't done yet. It's kind of beginning. But what does it mean now? You saw a woman, so much prestige, so much education, so much honor, and now you are becoming that woman. What does it mean for you right now, sitting as a woman of color with a doctorate degree?
There's a lot of work to be done. Like, I'll repeat what Dr. McClendon said. This is just the beginning. And it's how you position yourself. I think for me, my graduating with a doctorate degree just, gave me just a lot of perspective, how to view things, and also change my mindset that, and my value matrix, I'm going to put it. And it's what you bring to the table and how you show up. For me, I'm someone, I'm a leader of integrity and morality and, humility, transparency. So all these things fall under my umbrella. So whatever platform I, show up, I have those, expectations, those value systems. And I pretty much drive, where I want to go to with those dimensions. And, in today, since COVID-19, with extensive change, in the last 3 years, we have to look at things differently.
Yeah.
So attaining that doctoral degree just, put me in a position to want more, to do better, no matter what platform I'm on, and to speak up and advocate for those who can't. So, yes, that's how I see it.
I would appreciate that. Definitely appreciate you. You push it through for us tonight. We appreciate that so very much. And Dr. Drayton, same question now, over the hump. Be honest with you, you started with this many, you finished with this many. What does it mean now that you did get done and that you're now over that finish line? Yeah. Oh, I think we got to get you unmuted again there.
The work is real.
Yeah.
The work is real now. I have been blessed to become the program director for the Masters of Administration in Justice Evolved Care at the Morehouse School of Medicine.
Wow.
And we're graduating our first cohort. And I'm blessed because I just moved to Atlanta, the Atlanta metro area, and landed this position. And I've met so many people in this space. And it allowed me to bring 3 decades worth of experience to this field, to this industry, to a new group of people. And I'm working with a great group of people. And the doctorate degree opens doors, but the integrity of who Hari Drayton was has nothing to do with the doctorate degree, right? So the doctorate degree opened the door so that other people could see who Hari Drayton is.
Yeah.
And I'm happy about that. So it's wonderful. I've been blessed, and things have not been. I couldn't ask for God to bless me anymore. Like if He doesn't do one more thing for me, He's done enough. So I thank God for that.
That's right. The great Hari Drayton, everybody. We appreciate you. Dr. McClendon, as we know, you're going to enjoy your day while we go rest. What did it mean now, right now, in this minute, in this time, knowing the same thing? Some folks started with you, even all the obstacles you had to overcome, even people that doubted you. What does it mean now having this doctorate degree done?
Well, a couple of things. One is years ago, long before I was born, my grandfather, John Henry McClendon, went to Meharry Medical School. But because he was an African American, he never got to practice. He took his degree, put it in a wooden chest, and worked on the steel mill with his brother, Uncle Buster, in Southern Illinois. And so I think for me, you know, I did a podcast the other day, and the podcast host said, "What is the most important capability of a leader?" And I said, "To be humble, humility." And so, you know, even though I've done what I've done in my life, I continue to think about my grandfather, who wasn't able to do what he set out to do. So I think it's really important to take perspective. Again, having a PhD, a DBA, all that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, it's what's in here that matters. And I need to make sure that people understand that. As I said in that article, leadership doesn't, determine who you are. That's already been determined. The PhD is just an outer coating. Who you are remains the same. You may change the name on your credit card or on your envelope or your signature on your email address, but you're still the same person. I think it's really important to maintain that sense of humility. And I have to say also, even though I live in Australia, I still vote in Atlanta's 5th district, John Lewis's old district. So I'm keeping it close as well, even though I'm here.
Oh yeah. That's absolutely excellent. Absolutely excellent. We appreciate these great doctors. We're going to go around one more time as we wrap up for the evening. Dr. Pauline, let us know where people can find you all over social media, wherever they want to contact you. And one more tip. What is the lasting tip? If you could talk to an individual working on their doctorate right now, or that's interested in the doctorate, what would you tell them?
I would say to, allocate dedicated time for your research, for your writing, for reading, for your class, your classes, your courses, and be persistent, be intentional. There it comes with sacrifice. Always think of what is that your vision going in, and how are you going to get there. My dissertation chair gave me this cup after I had completed my comps, I believe, but the cup said, pain is temporary, a dissertation is forever. So with that said, like I just wanted to add to what Dr. McClendon said. Leadership is an affair of the heart, according to Posner, Cousins and Posner, 2017. So.
Cool. And where can folks find you at?
And folks could find me on LinkedIn, on this platform, LinkedIn platform, on Instagram, Dr. Pauline Elwin, on Facebook, and on Twitter. So, yes.
Excellent. Dr. Pauline Elwin, everybody. Dr. Hari Drayton, where can people find you? And if you can give that next doctor or prospective doctor a tip, what would you give them?
Okay. Remember your why. Why did you start in the first place? Because it's not going to be easy, but it will be worth it. It will be worth it. I promise you. You can find me on LinkedIn at Dr. Hari Drayton or at my website at drharidrayton.com.
Excellent. Excellent. That's Dr. Hari Drayton, everybody. Doing great things in Atlanta at Morehouse. We appreciate him. Dr. Wesley Payne, where can the great people find you? And if you can reach out and say something, leave something to that prospective doc student, what would you tell them?
I would only echo what my two esteemed colleagues have said. This idea of purpose. I think it's really important to understand what that is. I don't know what the statistics are today, but it's typical that only about 20% of people that start a PhD finish. So that means about 80% of the people, 8 in 10, will not succeed. And I'm sure at the beginning, it's not because they didn't want a PhD, it's because they let something derail their purpose. So again, if that purpose is what's driving you, then you need to maintain what that is. I didn't have the luxury of a cohort. I was traveling back and forth between Penn State in State College and Washington, D.C. It wasn't until I moved to the campus, once Dr. Farmer gave me that opportunity, where I just had my head down. And so I know people that went there at the same time. I stay in touch with a couple of them. But for me, it was, I need to get to the end as quickly as possible. You know, I did well, but for me, I was extremely purposeful, dedicated, single vision, you know, and that was it. But anyway, so I think it's really important to establish that early on and just push through, because obviously, like I said, if only 2 out of 10 people make it to the end, you know, there's a lot of casualties along the side of the road.
That's true.
And in terms of reaching out to me, and in the Australian context, it means something else when you put a doctor in front of your name. And I won't have that conversation now. But in terms of being humble in this environment, you want to make sure that you're not kind of putting yourself above others. So for me, it's just Wesley Payne McClendon on LinkedIn. I get a bit wild on Twitter. That's Black Doc, BLKDOC, same on my license plate. I'm on Facebook, but I haven't been there since 2009. So if you send me a message, I won't respond, but I'll always respond online. And you can also reach out to me at the McClendon Research Group, which is mrg-inc.org.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. Dr. Pauline Elwin, Dr. Hari Drayton, Dr. Wesley Payne McClendon. Touching base here on the Doc Chat as we are at Friday Junior in America. He's at Friday already in Australia, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So
happy hour is just around the corner.
That's epic. That's epic. We like to say thank y'all so much. Thank y'all for everybody who tuned in. Make sure you reach out to these great doctors if you have questions, and letting you know you can do this. I got witnesses right here, baby. I'm telling you, they are doing the thing, and we're so happy they were able to come on the Doc Chat and share a bit of their story. So for all that tuned in, thank y'all so much. And until next time, we say peace out.